And no matter how well prepared you are, failure is always going to be a possibility. It's about reframing failure as a necessary part of the process. It might not be the setback that you think it is. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pyllon Ultra Pod, where we like to dive deep into the world of ultra running and the life lessons that come with it. I'm Paul, and today I'd like to talk about something that resonates probably with all of us, and that's around failure. Now, we often hear about success stories, podium finishes, epic adventures, personal bests, but we rarely talk about the other side of the coin. Those are the races that we don't finish, the training cycles that just didn't go as we planned them to, and the goals that we just didn't achieve. So today I wanted to explore why embracing failure is just as important, if not more so, than celebrating success. And please don't be put off already. I'm not the all-out, just stay positive type of guy that thinks you should just never give up and not succeeding is just adding fuel to the fire. I don't think it's as simple as that, and honest conversation is what we really need to have. So, if we're being honest, ultra running is a really hard sport. Distances are long, obviously. Terrain can be hard and challenging, and there's lots of physical and mental demands. It's a pretty intense sport to take part in, and no matter how well prepared you are, failure is always going to be a possibility. If you go into any race, the work that you've done to stay on plan with your training and prep for your goal, it might increase the chances of you having success, but let's not be fooled. Failure is a real and significant possibility for all of us when we take on any race or big endurance challenge. You might not hit your target time, you might have to drop out of the race, or you might struggle with motivation during a particularly tough training block. But here's the thing. Failure isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's only really where the story gets interesting. So think about the last time you failed at something in your running journey. Maybe it was a race where everything went wrong, your legs felt heavy, your nutrition plan just didn't work, or it went out the window by checkpoint 1, and you just couldn't push through the pain and the suffering. At that moment, it's easy to feel like all your hard work was for nothing. But if you dig a wee bit deeper, you'll find that the failure teaches you more about yourself than success ever could. I was running with Kevin the other day, and we're talking about those horrible times in races that we actively hope something unpleasant is going to spare us from our disappointment and our suffering. But probably most of us have been there. If you're totally honest about it, it might be something like, I wish if only I could roll my ankle, some kind of trip or fall, or some catastrophic weather that will somehow going to spare us from the acceptance of failure. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've been in that headspace before, and I'm sure many of you have been too. Failure forces you to confront your weaknesses. Well, that's strictly not true, I suppose. It presents an opportunity for you to confront your weaknesses, and we don't always take that opportunity, but it gives us that chance to really analyse what's gone wrong and figure out a way to improve so that you have a higher chance of having a better outcome in the future. And it's in these moments of reflection that you really grow as a runner and a person. Now, failure is uncomfortable and unpleasant, and it's quite humbling, and it reminds us that we're not really invincible. We don't have this fully worked out yet. There's still some room for growth, and the journey itself is way more important than the destination. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to throw out those easy to say, snappy niceties that you should turn every hardship in your life, you should turn into an opportunity. And it's all about growth and all that stuff you've read in books and seen on socials. I know I probably just did say that, but actually I think what's missed is that we only really reach for those in the moments of despair and the long kind of hangover after it's happened. So what if we were able to believe all that from now? What would happen? What if at times we actively looked for failure and embraced it when we found it? Thomas Edison famously said, "I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This is a slightly different mindset than having to deal with a failure that we never really considered an option because we were just too badass on the lead up to the event and left no room for weak thoughts. What if we seeked them out in training? We occasionally took a few risks in our training. We knew deep down that a failure is an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to be much better on the other side. It's about reframing failure as a necessary part of the process. It might not be the setback that you think it is. So let me share a personal story. A few years back now, I was training for a big race in Tennessee, one that I'd been looking forward to for a long time. I was hitting all my workouts, I was feeling strong, I'd done as much as I could have in terms of working out navigation and prep and kit and understanding the race. And I was really confident that I could at least put on a good few days of racing, worst case. But when the day came, nothing went according to plan. I probably pushed too hard initially. I was way too hot for long periods early on. I lost a water bottle, so my nutrition was off. And by the end of lap 1, I was really struggling to move well. The weather got bad, my legs got screwed, the people around me all started to drop one by one, and I found myself out in the middle of the night in a storm on my own. And I think I was probably pretty fearful about my condition and the conditions and the situation I found myself. And eventually I made the difficult decision to drop out. And at first I was devastated. Well, more than just at first, I think. In all honesty, I suffered really badly for quite a long period. I was swinging from feeling like I'd let myself down to how I'd let everybody I'd ever met in my life, I'd let them down, and my running and racing was just completely pointless. Why did I invest all this time and do it? And all those hours of training were really wasted. But eventually I realised that the experience, along with many other experiences that were maybe seen as failures, taught me valuable lessons. The failure made me a better runner, and it gave me the resilience that I'd have to lean on further down the line. Events that really gave this particular failure some perspective, both running and in life. So how do we embrace failure as part of our running journey? First, I think it's important to accept that failure is inevitable. It's baked into what we do. No matter how hard you train or how well you prepare, there will be times where things just don't go as planned. And that's okay. It's not just part of the process, it's an essential, unavoidable step towards progress in your journey. And the short-term pain and suffering goes on to fertilise the soil for a greater yield in the future. Second is I think you should use failure as a good learning opportunity. After every race, whether it's a success or a failure, you need to take the time to reflect what went well, what didn't, what can you do differently the next time. A mindset that operates not in absolutes but of continuous improvement will not only make you a better runner but also help you to build the resilience in other areas of your life too. The most important thing with this though, I think, is honesty. If you take those easier to handle simple excuses and don't really look under the rocks, you're going to continue being presented with the very same opportunities for learning, and those are almost always painful. So you need to find a way to really cut through the easy ways out and say it just wasn't my day, and I was just very unlucky, and I actually look at, well, what really went on. Was I really as well prepared as I thought I was? And then finally, without going into too much depth and making this a long and drawn out conversation, is I don't think you should be afraid of sharing your failures with others. In this world of social media, often we just highlight the best bits of what we're doing and our careers and our sports and hobbies. And it's actually quite refreshing and empowering to share the whole story, which includes the good, the bad and the ugly. And remember, your honesty can really help to inspire other people who might be going through similar struggles. You just don't know when you start to open up how that can positively impact other people. Now, I've done my fair share of acceptable and kind of safe reasons and excuses, I suppose, for public race failures over the years, but the times that I've really been open and vulnerable and shared the things that I've done wrong and those feelings, I've really connected with the bigger reasons for those failures, and I've connected with other people. So just look at now, if you take a look now at your social media, you're likely to see some good examples and plenty of people who really aren't prepared to accept the responsibility and to look further into why they'd failed or why that was perceived as being a failure. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. The ultra running community is incredibly supportive because most of us have been through some pain and suffering from failures, and there's always someone who's been through what you've been experiencing. But I do appreciate that not everyone feels super connected in that way. It might just be somebody that you train with, it could be a coach or an online group. And it's generally okay to lean on others when you're feeling down. As in life, sometimes just talking about your struggles can help you to see things from a new perspective and maybe reignite some energy, passion and motivation for your training. I don't necessarily think you need to make huge statements on social media if you have a race and it just doesn't go to plan and maybe you don't finish. I don't think you have to overcompensate by making these big statements, and especially when you know maybe deep down you're shying away from the truth or you're trying to maintain some kind of crafted, polished exterior that it was just bad luck and that's it and I'll fight on. There's plenty going on already, but it's okay to say you messed it up or you're upset and you're confused about how disappointed you feel about that result. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the success. And if you can embrace your failures, you can learn from them and you can keep moving forward. And every step you take, whether it's a step towards victory or a step that ends in a stumble or a fall, it's a step towards growth ultimately. It's more than okay to have plenty of failures along the way. Thanks for joining me on the Pyllon Ultra Pod. If you found the episode helpful, please subscribe, leave a review and share it with your friends. Remember, we're all in this together, and together we can turn our failures into solid, grippy stepping stones to success. As I've said in the last few episodes, if you'd like to spend a weekend with the Pyllon Experience community and team, doing some running, hanging out, talking about running and having a lot of fun along the way, please do check out the website for more details. 20th of September, we're heading to Glenshee for the weekend for Pyllon XP7. If you have already signed up, and you fancy bringing a friend along or convincing a friend to come along with you, then please just drop me a message on socials and I'll see if I can sort out some kind of reduced rate for you bringing a friend along. We do have some spaces left and we're really keen to fill them. So until next time, keep running your race your way, and I'll see you out on the trail soon. Alright, bye.